Ever wondered how giants like Netflix and Amazon deliver content to millions of users instantly? They're built on AWS. And the cool thing is, you can use that exact same power to launch your own professional website. So in the next 5 minutes or so, we're going to walk through every single step from a brand new account to a live, global, and secure site.
Here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the foundation, setting up a secure AWS account. Then, the fun part, getting our site live on a service called S3. After that, we'll give it a serious pro upgrade with CloudFront, take a quick look at the costs, and then talk about where you can go from here. It's a really clear path from zero to a fully launched website.
Okay, first things first. Before we can build anything cool, we need a solid, and I mean really importantly, a secure foundation. And that means setting up your AWS account the right way, right from the very beginning.
Now, creating the account itself is super straightforward. You just head over to the AWS sign-up portal, follow the prompts, and do a quick verification with your phone. Once that confirmation email lands in your inbox, you're officially in. But hang on, because what comes next is probably the most important thing you'll do in this whole setup.
Okay, listen up, because this is the single biggest security tip for anyone starting on AWS. When you first sign up, you get what's called the root user. I want you to think of this as the master key to an entire skyscraper. It can unlock every single door, access every floor, and even hit the demolition button. You would never use that key just to go to your office, right? It's way too risky. So our very first move is to put that master key away in a safe. So here's the plan. We're going to sign in with that all-powerful root user just this one time. First up, you're going to switch on multi-factor authentication. That's MFA. It means you need your password plus a temporary code from your phone to log in. Super secure. Then you'll enable a service called IAM Identity Center, which is like mission control for all your users. From there, you'll create a new administrative user for yourself. And from that moment on, that new, safer account is what you'll use for everything.
All right, our secure foundation is built. Now it's time for the really exciting part. Let's get your website live for the whole world to see, using your very own custom domain name.
So what we're building here is called a static website. This isn't some super complex database-driven thing like Facebook. It's more like a digital brochure. Just simple files like HTML, CSS, and images. And the awesome thing about this is because it's so simple, it's ridiculously fast, super reliable, and really, really cheap to run.
So how do we actually get this thing online? Well, it's a pretty elegant process. First, you'll grab a domain name like myawesomesite.com using an AWS service called Route 53. Then, you'll create what's called an S3 bucket. Just think of it as a special folder in the cloud. And you'll tell it, hey, you're a web server now. You upload your website files into it, and then the final piece of the puzzle, you just tell Route 53 to point your domain name right at that S3 bucket. And this is where you start to see the magic of the AWS ecosystem. Instead of a normal DNS record, which is like writing down a friend's physical address on a piece of paper, you'll use something called an alias record. Think of it like a magic link that's always connected to your S3 bucket. If AWS ever needs to change the underlying address for that bucket, you don't have to do a thing. The alias record just knows. It updates automatically. It's just smarter.
And just like that, it's done. You can literally type your domain name into a browser and see your website. That's huge. Take a second to celebrate that. But you know we're not going to stop there, right? We can make this even better. Okay, so our site is live, which is awesome. But now we're going to take it from a basic site to a professional-grade one. We're talking top-notch security and blazing fast global speed. Go ahead and look at your site's address in the browser. See that little "not secure" warning next to it? Yeah, we need to fix that. The reason it's there is because our S3 bucket is only serving content over regular old HTTP. And we need the secure, encrypted version, HTTPS.
So what's the big deal? Well, with HTTP, all the data is just flying through the internet in plain text. Not great. But with HTTPS, the S is for secure, everything is encrypted. It's what gives you that little padlock icon in the address bar. And honestly, in today's world, it's non-negotiable. It's all about building trust with your visitors.
So how do we get that padlock? The answer is an amazing service called Amazon CloudFront. It's a global network of servers designed for high performance. The setup is simple. First, you grab a free security certificate from AWS. Then, you create what's called a CloudFront distribution, and just tell it that your S3 bucket is its home base. And the last step is a breeze. You just go back to Route 53 and tell that magic alias record to point to CloudFront now instead of S3. That's it.
And boom!
You got the whole package. Not only do you have that secure HTTPS padlock, but CloudFront also automatically makes copies of your website at locations all around the globe. That means someone in Sydney gets the same lightning-fast experience as someone in San Francisco. It's a massive win for both security and performance.
All right, we've built something truly professional. But I know what you're thinking. What's this actually going to cost me? Let's break it down so there are zero surprises.
There are basically 3 things to think about. First, your domain name. That's a simple annual fee, usually starting around $9 or $10. Easy. Second is S3, for storing your files. For a simple site, this will likely be covered by the AWS free tier or cost you literal pennies a month. And finally, CloudFront, which is based on your traffic. The beauty here is that it's super cheap when you're starting out, but it's built to scale with you when your site becomes a huge success.
So everything we've done so far has been by clicking around in the AWS Web Console, which is a fantastic way to learn. But once you get serious, you're not going to want to click buttons all day. You're going to want to automate things.
And AWS gives you a whole professional toolbox for this. You can write code in languages you already know, like Python or Java, to build and manage your website. Or you can use the command line interface, the CLI, to control everything right from your terminal. This is how you go from just clicking around to creating powerful, repeatable, automated workflows.
So there you have it. In just a few minutes, you've gone from nothing to a fast, global, and secure website live on AWS. You've laid the foundation. You know the key pieces of the puzzle. The only real question left is, now that you have all this power at your fingertips, what are you going to build next?